Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Love Tarot reading. This is a timeless message intended for those who are guided here by the universe. Not every part of this reading will resonate with everyone, and that's perfectly okay. Take only what truly speaks to your heart and reflects your own situation. If something doesn't feel like your message, simply let it pass with peace. Now, let's take a deep breath together and connect with the energy surrounding this reading. The very first card to reveal itself is the Three of Cups. What a beautiful way to begin. This card immediately speaks of reunion, reconnection, and emotional celebration after a period of separation. It often appears when two people are being drawn back toward one another, not necessarily because the past repeats itself, but because both people have changed enough to meet again from a different place. There is a strong feeling here that this person genuinely wants to spend time with you again, not out of obligation, not out of loneliness, but because your presence still means something to them. They want the opportunity to sit across from you, to hear your voice again, to share a conversation that has been waiting to happen for far too long. But let's keep going, because the next card reveals even more. The second card is the King of Cups. And honestly, this is an incredible combination. The King of Cups represents emotional maturity. He appears when someone is no longer trying to hide behind fear or confusion. Instead of suppressing their emotions, they begin learning how to express them with honesty, compassion, and confidence. Your person seems to be entering that stage now. They're no longer content with simply feeling love. They're beginning to realize that love also asks for courage. They want to approach you with kindness, with patience, with understanding, with genuine sincerity, and perhaps most importantly, with a level of emotional confidence that may have been missing before. This no longer feels like someone who is overwhelmed by their feelings or uncertain about what they want. It feels like someone who has been growing quietly behind the scenes, someone who has learned difficult lessons, someone who is finally becoming the version of themselves they needed to be. But we'll explore these two cards more deeply in just a moment. First, let's pull one final card to complete the opening energy of today's reading. And the third card is the Fool. Wow, what a powerful message. The Fool often symbolizes a brand new beginning, a willingness to step into the unknown with hope instead of fear. Rather than suggesting that everything will magically return to the way it once was, this card points toward the possibility of starting over with a completely different mindset. There is a sense that this person is ready to leave behind old patterns, old fears, old mistakes. They don't want to keep carrying the emotional weight that once kept the two of you apart. Instead, they want to see what becomes possible if both of you meet this connection with open hearts. The King of Cups suggests they've become more emotionally honest. The Fool suggests they're finally willing to act on that honesty. Together, these cards create a beautiful story of growth. Even if there has been silence, distance, or months, perhaps even years without meaningful communication, the emotional connection between you doesn't appear to have been forgotten. Something about this bond continues to linger in their heart, not as a passing crush, not a simple nostalgia, but as a relationship that continues to hold emotional significance. You may have felt something similar yourself. Perhaps you've wondered, why is it still so difficult to completely let this person go? Why, out of everyone I've met, does this connection continue to stay with me? These cards don't ask us to chase certainty. Instead, they invite us to recognize that some relationships leave lasting emotional footprints because they teach us something meaningful about ourselves. The time apart also seems to have served an important purpose. The King of Cups reminds us that emotional wisdom is rarely born from comfort. It often grows through disappointment, through heartbreak, through learning what happens when fear speaks louder than love. This person appears to have spent that time growing, learning how to understand their emotions instead of running from them, learning how to face vulnerability instead of avoiding difficult conversations, learning that silence doesn't protect love, it often prevents it from growing. The version of them who once avoided their feelings, who stayed quiet when honesty was needed, who struggled to express what was in their heart, seems to be slowly fading away. In its place stands someone who wants to be open, who wants to be truthful, who no longer wishes to pretend that these feelings simply disappeared. And perhaps that's exactly why the Three of Cups appeared first, because before healing can happen, People often need the opportunity to simply sit together again. Maybe it's over coffee. Maybe it's during an unexpected conversation. Maybe it's through a message that finally breaks the silence. The setting itself isn't what matters. What matters is that both hearts finally have the chance to speak. Not through assumptions, not through pride, but through honesty. The Fool also carries another beautiful lesson. It reminds us that real courage isn't pretending the past never happened. Real courage is acknowledging the mistakes, learning from them, and still choosing to take another step forward. If this person returns to your life, the cards suggest it may not be as the same version of themselves you once knew. Instead, they may return carrying greater emotional awareness, greater humility, greater compassion, and a genuine desire to build something healthier than what existed before. Whatever unfolds from here, these opening cards speak less about returning to the past and more about the possibility of creating something entirely new from everything both of you have learned along the way. The next card to appear is Judgment. This card couldn't have arrived at a more meaningful moment, because despite its name, Judgment isn't about someone else judging you. It's about someone finally becoming honest with themselves. This is the energy of looking back without excuses. Looking back at the choices they made, the moments they walked away, the silence they allowed to grow, and the pain they may have caused you without fully understanding it at the time. But what makes this card so powerful is that they are no longer searching for someone else to blame. They're no longer hiding behind fear. They're no longer trying to justify what happened. Instead, they're beginning to admit something they may have resisted for a long time. I made mistakes. I hurt someone who truly cared about me. I let go of something incredibly precious. That is the true essence of Judgment. It represents awakening, emotional accountability, a profound transformation that begins within. This person is no longer standing where they once were. They've started taking responsibility for the consequences of their own actions. If they disappeared before, if they stayed silent, if they left you waiting, if they made you question your own worth, those very moments have become some of life's greatest lessons for them. They now understand that patience has limits, that genuine love should never be taken for granted. And they know that if they lose this connection again, there may never be another opportunity to make things right. That's why the energy here doesn't simply point toward an apology. It points toward a desire to show real change. They want you to meet the version of them that has learnt how to listen, how to care, how to place your feelings alongside their own instead of allowing pride to lead the relationship, how to love with a level of maturity they may not have possessed before. That's why Judgment follows the King of Cups and the Fool so beautifully. Together, these cards don't describe someone returning out of loneliness or temporary regret. They describe someone coming back after an inner journey of growth. The next card is the Four of Wands. Few cards carry such a warm and joyful energy when it comes to love. The image of two people celebrating beneath a flower-covered arch symbolizes harmony, stability, and the feeling of finally finding your way back to one another. This card often reflects meaningful milestones shared between two people, a long-awaited date, a weekend away together, a candle-lit dinner filled with honest conversation, an engagement, a wedding, or simply the quiet happiness of thinking, we finally found our way back. The Four of Wands is a celebration of surviving difficult seasons, a celebration that love remained stronger than the distance, a celebration that neither heart truly gave up. This card is also closely connected with the symbolic number 1111, often associated with deeply meaningful soul connections and moments of spiritual alignment. The energy here suggests that this person isn't only thinking about returning. They're thinking about building trust, building consistency, building a future that feels safe for both of you. They want to create a life where sharing everyday moments together becomes something ordinary and deeply treasured. This is no longer about beautiful promises or uncertain emotions. They long for something clear, stable, secure, and lasting. Rather than asking you to guess how they feel, they want their love to become visible through everyday actions, through the time they choose to spend with you, through gentle acts of care, through promises they actually keep. They don't want you wondering, do they still love me? Because if this energy unfolds, their actions will begin answering that question for you every single day. The next card is the Four of Cups. This is a card of reflection, of missed opportunities, of realizing the value of something only after it seemed out of reach. This person appears to be replaying many moments from the past. The times you wanted to be close to them, the plans that never happened, the messages left unanswered, the promises that quietly faded away, the moments when you needed them most, and they simply weren't there. Perhaps there were days when you looked forward to seeing them. You prepared with excitement, only to receive a last-minute message saying they couldn't come. Or perhaps there was something even more painful. Complete silence, no explanation, no phone call, no message. At the time, they may have believed those moments weren't important. But now those memories continue returning, asking to be acknowledged. They've begun to understand how deeply those experiences may have hurt you. They realize they failed to appreciate someone who consistently chose them. And that realization carries genuine remorse. They find themselves asking difficult questions. Why didn't I recognize what I had? Why did I allow pride or fear to get in the way? Why did I wait until now to understand the value of this love? Yet the beauty of the Four of Cups is that it doesn't remain trapped in regret. It quietly points toward a willingness to make different choices. The energy here feels as though they want to say, I don't want to repeat those mistakes. I want to make time for us. I want this relationship to become a priority. I don't want you to feel forgotten ever again. Because they've learned something deeply important. Love isn't sustained by words alone. It's built through presence, through consistency, through choosing each other again and again. And if this energy continues to unfold, their heart seems ready to make that choice. Not just once, but every single day moving forward. The next card to reveal itself is the Emperor. I have to say, I absolutely love the energy this card brings. Because the Emperor isn't someone who stays lost in thought or trapped in hesitation. This is the energy of action, of confidence, of someone who has made a decision and is ready to follow through with it. That's exactly what stands out here. This person isn't simply imagining what it would be like to come back into your life anymore. They've begun thinking about how they can actually make it happen. They've been picturing the moment they'll see you again, the words they'll choose, the conversations they've replayed countless times in their mind, how they'll begin repairing what was broken, how they'll earn back your trust, and how they can create a relationship that's stronger, healthier, and built on a more solid foundation than before. The Emperor is traditionally associated with Aries and ruled by Mars, the planet of initiative, courage, and decisive action. So when this card appears alongside the King of Cups, it creates a powerful message. Spirit isn't simply showing someone who still has feelings. Spirit is showing someone who is becoming ready to act on those feelings. Rather than waiting for life to make the first move, they're beginning to feel that they should be the one to reach out, to send the message, to start the conversation, to create an opportunity for the two of you to finally sit together again. Those first meetings may not be filled with grand romantic gestures. They may be quiet, simple, private, because before anything else, they want honesty. They want to clear away the misunderstandings that have stood between you. They want to say everything they've kept hidden for so long, to finally let you see what has remained inside their heart throughout the time apart. They want you to know that although circumstances changed, their feelings never completely disappeared. The Emperor also represents determination. Once this person commits to something that truly matters, they're far less willing to walk away. Whether the obstacle is silence, distance, past misunderstandings, or emotional wounds that still need time to heal, they're becoming willing to face those challenges instead of avoiding them, because this time, their goal isn't simply to come back. Their goal is to stay. The next card is the Hermit. For many of you watching this reading, this may describe the current energy between you. Perhaps they've gone quiet. Perhaps communication has become rare. Or maybe there's been complete silence for quite some time. But the Hermit isn't necessarily a negative card. In fact, it's often one of the most important stages of personal transformation. This card speaks of someone withdrawing from the outside world so they can finally face what's happening within. They're looking honestly at themselves, their fears, their emotional wounds, the beliefs that have quietly shaped the way they love, the pain they've carried for much longer than they realized. Little by little, those hidden parts are being brought into the light. It's almost as though they're saying to themselves, I can't keep living this way. If I want to hold on to the person I love, I have to become someone different. The Hermit is the card of healing, of doing the difficult inner work that no one else can do for us. Perhaps they once feared commitment. Perhaps vulnerability felt unsafe. Perhaps opening their heart felt too risky. Perhaps rejection seemed unbearable. But somehow, this connection has encouraged them to confront those fears. In many ways, you became a mirror, reflecting back the very parts of themselves they had spent years avoiding. And now, instead of running, they're choosing to heal. They're choosing growth, not only for themselves, but because they believe this relationship deserves a healthier version of who they are. One of the most fascinating details is that the Hermit appears directly beside the Emperor. One card is stillness, the other is movement. One represents reflection, the other represents action. Together they suggest something beautiful. The silence isn't meant to last forever. Once this inner journey reaches its purpose, they won't remain hidden inside the Hermit's cave. They won't continue observing from a distance. They won't keep disappearing whenever emotions become difficult. Instead, they'll step forward and they'll move toward you with intention, combined with the Fool from the beginning of the reading. Spirit seems to whisper one more message. Remain open to the unexpected. This person may appear when you least anticipate it, not because they're acting impulsively, but because for the first time, they genuinely feel ready. The next card is the Ten of Cups. Without question, this is one of the most beautiful cards in the entire tarot deck. It speaks of emotional fulfillment, deep love, family, peace, lasting happiness, and the comforting feeling of finally arriving where your heart belongs. This person doesn't see your story ending where it is now. Deep inside, they've never truly believed this was the final chapter. There's a quiet feeling that so much still remains unwritten. So many memories waiting to be created. So many places still waiting to be explored together. So many dreams that have yet to be shared. It's almost as though they want to pick up the pen once again and continue writing the story the two of you began. But this time, they don't want another chapter filled with misunderstandings or pages written through tears. They want something entirely different. A story where both of you have grown, where both of you choose each other with greater wisdom, where love is supported by trust, consistency, and emotional maturity. The Ten of Cups is also a powerful symbol of long-term commitment, and when it appears alongside the Four of Wands from earlier in the reading, the message becomes even stronger. This doesn't feel like someone returning for a brief reunion, or because loneliness became overwhelming, or because they temporarily missed your presence. Instead, it reflects someone who wants to build something real, a relationship with direction, with stability, with shared dreams, with a future that both of you can believe in. Yes, this journey may have taken much longer than either of you expected. Perhaps you found yourself wondering many times, when will they finally come back? Spirit gently reminds us that every soul grows at its own pace. The time apart wasn't necessarily a punishment. It may have been the space both hearts needed to become ready for a healthier beginning. And if these energies continue to unfold, this person appears to be finding their way back, not as a person they once were, but as someone who has learnt to love with greater maturity, greater responsibility, and a sincerity that may not have existed before. The next card to appear is Death. Now, don't let the name of this card frighten you. In tarot, death rarely speaks of an ending in the way most people imagine. Instead, it represents profound transformation, rebirth, the closing of one chapter so that something entirely new can finally begin. Death is associated with Scorpio and the transformative energy of Pluto, the planet of renewal, evolution, and deep inner change. And appearing immediately after the Ten of Cups, this card carries an especially meaningful message. Spirit isn't only pointing toward a change in circumstances, it's pointing toward a change within this person. The time you spent apart appears to have transformed them in ways they never expected. Old patterns, old fears, the habits and reactions that once created distance between the two of you, they're beginning to fall away. Little by little, those old versions of themselves are being left behind. A new version is emerging, much like the image of a phoenix rising from the ashes. This person seems to be stepping out of the pain of the past with greater wisdom, greater humility, and a deeper understanding of what love truly asks of them. And now they want to bring that transformation back into this connection. They don't want to recreate the relationship you once had. They want to create something entirely different. A love that feels calmer, more secure, more emotionally balanced, and strong enough to withstand the challenges that once pulled you apart. Some of you may have already been sensing this shift. Perhaps recently you found yourself thinking, it feels like something is about to change. Everything around me seems to be moving. The energy feels different somehow. That is the essence of the Death card. Transformation has already begun. Once this energy arrives, life rarely remains exactly as it was before, and it seems this person feels that change as well. Something inside them has reached a turning point, a quiet realization that waiting is no longer enough, that the time for reflection is slowly giving way to the time for action. The feeling here is that they're beginning to understand. If they truly want another chance, they'll have to be the one willing to take the next step. The next card is the Ace of Pentacles. What a beautiful card to follow, Death, because after every genuine transformation, there comes the opportunity for a new beginning. The Ace of Pentacles doesn't simply represent starting over. It represents building something on solid ground. This person wants a fresh start, but not one that repeats the mistakes of the past. They want to return with honesty, with respect, with gratitude, with responsibility, and with a love that has been tested and strengthened by time and distance. They no longer want to be the person who made promises without following through, or someone whose actions created uncertainty. The time apart appears to have taught them lessons that words alone never could. The Ace of Pentacles also symbolizes a foundation strong enough to support a lasting future. When the foundation changes, everything built upon it has the chance to become stronger. More trust, more stability, more emotional safety, fewer misunderstandings, fewer repeated cycles of hurt. Spirit seems to be offering a gentle reminder here. If this connection finds its way back to life, it won't simply be a return to the past. It has the potential to become something entirely new. Not a copy of what once existed, but a new chapter shaped by everything both of you have learnt, endured, and grown through along the way. That brings us to the end of today's reading. I hope these messages have offered you comfort, clarity, or perhaps a new perspective on your journey. As always, remember that tarot is meant to inspire reflection rather than provide absolute certainty. Take only the messages that genuinely resonate with your heart and your personal situation, and simply allow the rest to pass by with ease. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and allowing me to share this reading with you. If you enjoyed today's reading and found it meaningful, I truly appreciate it if you took a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing what resonated with you, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future readings. Until we meet again, I wish you peace, love, healing, and light on every step of your journey. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next reading.